The woman found a piece of gold during a casual walk after getting pregnant. In the mall she drew a random prize and won a luxurious Ferrari sports car. Yet even though the baby brought such astonishing fortune, her CEO husband still disliked that she was carrying a daughter and demanded a divorce, only because his secretary was already pregnant with his child and it was confirmed to be a boy. As the woman stood there completely lost, she suddenly heard the voice of the baby in her belly, saying that it was the god of wealth and could not believe it was being disliked. While the mother was stunned, the baby spoke again, saying that with it around she could make money hundreds of times more than the CEO. Seeing the woman hesitate, the man said the compensation could still be discussed, but she must agree to the divorce. Little did he know she was carrying a tiny god of wealth, one who came to the human world only because it lost a bet with the heavenly gods. Although the woman was unsure whether the baby was telling the truth, she refused to let anyone harm the child, so she decisively tore up the divorce agreement, and said divorce was fine but the child must stay with her. Seeing his usually weak wife dare to resist, the man immediately ordered his people to freeze all her bank cards. He believed that once she hit a dead end she would agree to his demands. Yet only moments after he left, the baby told the woman to open the drawer beside her. Inside was an old phone and the $100,000 she had saved before. Next, the baby told her to invest all the money into a certain stock. But when the woman saw that the stock had been falling for a full week, she became uncertain and hesitant. After all, that $100,000 was her only living expense. But the baby firmly said it would double when the market opened the next day. With no one else to rely on, the woman decided to trust the baby just once, so she invested everything. Her action was soon reported to the man by his assistant. The man looked at the stock chart convinced she would lose everything and come begging. But he never expected that when the market opened the next day, the garbage stock actually surged. The woman's money doubled in just one day and became $200,000. At that moment she fully believed the baby was truly a little god of wealth. But this small amount was only an appetizer the baby gifted her. Its goal was to help its mother become the richest person. Yet the man still thought the woman was just lucky. He wanted to see how long luck could keep her going. Over the next 3 days the same stock earned her $500,000. Now she no longer had to worry about basic living. Then the baby told her to look into a technology company. Although it was currently ignored by everyone, within half a month its breakthrough technology would skyrocket, and its stock price would rise 100 times. But the woman only had $500,000, which was far from enough to buy their shares, so she had no choice but to sell all her jewelry and designer bags. However, after checking everything, the buyer regretfully said all items had her husband's family emblem, and her husband had already announced they would no longer buy them back. Only then did the woman realize her husband never wanted her to own anything of her own from the very beginning. 3 years of marriage had been a cruel joke. Just as she was turning to leave, the man walked into the shop, mocking that she finally could not hold on and came to sell off her belongings. But the woman said she was not selling, she was throwing out trash, leaving the man speechless with anger. Yet she still had no idea where else she could find money. While she was completely frustrated, she saw a flyer for a stone gambling auction on the ground. The little god of wealth would surely make a fortune there. Unexpectedly, as soon as she entered the auction, she saw the man with his pregnant secretary. The man assumed the woman followed him to ask for money. The secretary, wanting her to look pathetic, deliberately said the woman was probably here to find rich men. Before the woman could speak, the mother-in-law appeared and mocked her, saying the secretary was now the family's lucky star, and that the company's stock had risen ever since she became pregnant. But they did not know the luck came from the little god of wealth in the woman's belly. Once the divorce was final, all that fortune would disappear. The woman did not want to waste time on them, so she walked past them and entered the auction. Soon the first item started at $800,000. The secretary quickly gasped, telling the mother-in-law that the baby just kicked her. The mother-in-law believed the little god of wealth was giving a sign, and insisted the stone must contain great material, so she immediately bought it for $800,000. Once cut open, it revealed rare jade and was sold for $2 million. This made the mother-in-law even more convinced the secretary carried the true god of wealth. The secretary proudly boasted to the woman, saying this was real good fortune. Hearing this, the baby gently comforted its mother, telling her not to worry. The truly valuable stones were still ahead. One jade stone after another was bought while the woman still made no move. The mother-in-law and secretary were certain she was just pretending. But then a black stone was pushed out. Starting price $50,000. Everyone laughed, saying it was worthless waste. The baby quietly told the woman the stone was worth hundreds of millions. So the woman raised her paddle and bid $50,000. The secretary believed the stone was trash, but she still did not want the woman to feel good, so she raised the bid to $300,000. The woman grit her teeth and followed with $50,000. That was already all the money she had. Any further and she would need a loan. Seeing her struggle, the secretary raised her hand again and called out $200,000, then mocked the woman, asking if she was out of money. The woman knew she had nothing left and nearly gave up, but the baby told her to trust it. Hearing this, she stopped hesitating and raised her paddle with $300,000. The man was furious. Since they were not divorced yet, he did not want to cover her losses, and the secretary feared if she raised the price again the woman might stop. So she pretended generously to let the woman have the stone, and the woman won the so-called worthless stone for $300,000. Everyone thought she acted irrationally because of her argument with the secretary. She could only ask the master to cut the stone quickly. After the first cut there was nothing. The laughter around her grew louder, yet she firmly told the master to continue. After another cut it still was nowhere near worth $300,000. At that moment the baby told her to cut from the center. The master warned that if nothing was inside, the entire stone would be ruined. Facing the cold mockery from her husband and the scheming secretary, the woman unwaveringly chose to trust her baby. As the machine started, everyone present was stunned. The woman went to the auction to buy gamble stones just after finding out she was pregnant. She even spent $5 million to buy a worthless stone that no one else wanted, just as her husband and his scheming secretary waited to watch her embarrass herself. Unexpectedly, the woman revealed a stunning imperial green jade worth tens of millions. This infuriated the entire family of the CEO. They could not comprehend how a simple housewife could understand stones. At the same time, the scheming secretary arrogantly claimed the woman was just lucky. Little did she know all of the woman's extraordinary luck came from the child in her womb. Feeling confident, the woman refused to let the scheming secretary manipulate her any longer. She immediately slapped her hard. Before the CEO could say a word, she gracefully walked out of the auction. Yet the CEO still thought the woman was merely lucky. He declared that with her extravagant spending she would soon come back begging for money. However, the moment she stepped outside, the woman found a large chunk of gold. A casual trip to the mall turned into winning a Rolls-Royce. Stopping by an antique stall, she randomly picked the finest wooden artifact. All of this luck was thanks to the baby she carried. Not long ago, the woman had been threatened and forced out of the house, simply because tests showed she was carrying a girl. Meanwhile, her husband's first love was pregnant with a boy who could inherit the family fortune. But they had no idea. This soon-to-be abandoned girl was actually the little god of wealth controlling the human world. After 300 years of overworking in heaven, she was exhausted. She decided to descend and be reborn as a rich second-generation girl to experience life. Yet the little god of wealth did not expect her earthly life to start with being abandoned. In this critical moment, she spoke directly from her mother's womb, announcing she was the god of wealth and could make them rich without the CEO. The woman was stunned and delighted, realizing she could hear her unborn daughter's voice. Encouraged by her daughter, the woman instantly found courage. She tore up the divorce papers on the spot and told her scumbag husband that the child must stay. The husband was enraged. He immediately froze all her bank accounts, trying to force her into submission with money. But he did not know the woman's daughter was the true god of wealth. The baby guided her mother to invest their only remaining $50,000 in a failing stock. The husband laughed, thinking she was wasting money and waiting to see her fail. Yet the next day, the stock miraculously surged to the limit. $50,000 overnight became $300,000. In just 3 days, mother and daughter earned $800,000. The husband and company executives were shocked, but they stubbornly claimed it was just luck and continued to freeze all her cards. Then the baby god noticed a tech company whose stock would multiply 100 times in 2 weeks, but their funds were far from enough. The woman decided to sell the jewelry her husband had given her. To her surprise, the shop owner refused, saying all the pieces bore the CEO's mark and no one dared buy them. The deceitful husband had already cut off all her options. At that moment, the scumbag husband appeared, mocking her helplessly, saying without him she could never live a luxurious life. The woman felt utterly cold. She retorted fiercely, "I do not care about the things you gave me." Then she threw all the jewelry into the trash in front of him. To raise funds, guided by the baby god, she went to a gamble stone auction. To the little god of wealth, gamble stones felt as comfortable as home. Unexpectedly, she ran into her husband's family again. His first love flaunted her unborn boy as the family's lucky heir, and mocked the woman relentlessly. Soon the first love bid $80,000 for a raw stone claiming fetal movement. It turned out to contain a high-quality jade worth $2 million. The family laughed even harder at the woman, thinking she had no luck. They did not dare bid. Then the next lot appeared. It was a useless piece of stone no one wanted. The starting price was only $50,000. Everyone ridiculed whoever bought it was foolish, but the baby god inside the woman became excited, telling her mother this stone held a once-in-a-lifetime treasure capable of changing everything. After several rounds of bidding with the scheming secretary, the woman spent all her savings to buy the stone. Then it revealed a priceless jade worth a fortune, repeating the opening scene. Yet even this was not enough for the woman's lifelong wealth. Following her daughter's guidance, she visited an antique stall, planning to find another hidden gem to make a windfall. But unexpectedly, the scheming secretary also showed up to obstruct her. Will the woman succeed in finding a treasure this time?
A woman spent $1 million on a piece of leftover material that no one wanted. However, in the next moment, this piece of material actually yielded top-grade imperial green jade, worth $100 million, an astonishing 100 times increase. Later, when she bought $200 million worth of stocks, everyone mocked her for having no vision. Whether it was her treacherous husband who betrayed her, or his mistress, they all laughed at her, saying she was about to go bankrupt. But in the next second, the stocks she bought soared 10 times in value. The original $200 million turned into $2 billion. This immediately made everyone regret it deeply. The reason why the woman was so lucky was that she was pregnant with a lucky star baby. Unfortunately, the mistress of her treacherous husband also got pregnant at the same time. The superstitious treacherous husband actually mistook the mistress for the lucky star who brought good fortune, and ruthlessly drove his wife out of the house. At this moment, when the leftover material yielded the imperial green jade, the mistress who had been mocking the woman just now suddenly flew into a rage. She even threatened the woman fiercely, "I will never let you and your child live in peace." This sentence completely enraged the woman. She raised her hand and slapped the scheming woman hard, warning her with firm eyes, "If you dare to hurt my child, I will never let you go, even if I have to risk my life." The woman's heart was full of gratitude. She kept stroking her belly, thanking the child inside. After a moment of silence, a tender voice suddenly came from her belly. The child asked softly, "Mom, if I weren't a lucky star, would you still protect me like this? Tears welled up in the woman's eyes, and she replied firmly, most mothers in the world love their children, and I love you more than anything else. This sentence instantly moved the baby in her belly. He smiled and said, Mom, our road to getting rich has only just begun. The next day, the woman came to the antique market. Suddenly, the child in her belly reminded her, Mom, the box next to it is a treasure, but you need to buy a longevity lock first, and then ask the shopkeeper to give you the box as a gift. This way, you can prevent him from raising the price arbitrarily. The shopkeeper watched the woman choose the longevity lock, secretly rejoicing in his heart, thinking that he had tricked another inexperienced person today. Coincidentally, the scheming mistress also came to the antique market to play. When she saw the woman buying a longevity lock, she deliberately stepped forward to bid, insisting on snatching that longevity lock. Seeing this, the woman pretended to be determined to get it, directly raising the price to $1 million. Just as the scheming mistress and the shopkeeper thought they had gotten a great deal and were secretly happy, the woman paid $800 happily and took the wooden box that the shopkeeper gave her as a gift. In the next moment, a senior antique dealer passing by saw the wooden box in the woman's hand and was instantly stunned. With just one glance, he could tell that this unremarkable wooden box was by no means an ordinary thing. In the next second, he directly offered $100 million to buy it,